Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Ibrahim Traoré's era. Something big is happening in the Sahel. The African Union, the same body that claims to speak for all Africans, has suspended Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. Yes, you heard that right. The very countries that are fighting for Africa's freedom have been kicked out by the same union that was created to protect African unity. This week, Captain Ibrahim Traoré spoke clearly to the world. He said, "The African Union has suspended us without reason. They have ignored our letters, refused to talk to us, and isolated us as if we are no longer part of Africa."
What are you still doing in the African Union?
Good question. So I said that our situation with the African Union is so passive that we don't even know if we're in the Union or not. We've been suspended for a while now and no one talks to us. It's really complete radio silence. So I don't even know if I'm in the Union or not.
But shouldn't we also make a statement by taking a historic step, as was done with ECOWAS, by slamming the door on an institution that clearly doesn't serve much purpose?
The president of Burundi, who was even supposed to come here last week, I think, but then there was a scheduling issue with us and we're waiting for him. We want to hear from him because we ourselves want to know why he's behaving this way. Because we don't want to make a decision without knowing their motivation. If we know their motivation, then if we leave, we could explain to our people, here is what they said, here are the reasons, and so we decide to leave. It's the same thing as with ECOWAS. We left, but if someone asks us why we left, we can explain it to you. But today, if we leave the Union and we're asked, we don't know why they suspended us.
Now the question is, how can the African Union punish the only African countries standing up for Africa's independence? The answer is simple. The African Union no longer works for Africa. It works for those who fund it. Let's be honest, my brothers and sisters. The AU doesn't run on African money. Its headquarters in Addis Ababa, that tall, beautiful building we all see on TV, wasn't even built by Africans. It was built by China. The Peace and Security Building was built by Germany. Almost 70% of the AU's budget comes from Western countries, the same ones that colonized and robbed Africa. So when you see the AU suspending the Sahel nations, don't be surprised. They are following orders from their paymasters, the same Western powers angry because the Sahel has kicked them out. Captain Traoré, General Tiani, and Colonel Goita know this game well. They know the AU doesn't defend Africa anymore. It defends Western interests. Let's look at the numbers. In 2021, AU budget was $636 million. The West paid $406 million of that, 65%. In 2022, the budget was $651 million. The West paid $428 million. 2023, the budget was $654 million. The West paid $435 million. 2024, the budget $605 million. The West paid $370 million. Then, in 2025, the AU budget was $608 million. The West gave them $353 million of that. Do you see that? Over 60% of the yearly budget of the AU come from the West. When a union depends on Western money to survive, how can it ever stand against the West? That's why when ECOWAS placed sanctions on the Sahel, the AU said nothing. When France and America threatened invasion, the AU stayed silent. No call for peace, no call for dialogue, just silence. Because their loyalty isn't to Africa, it's to their funders. Behind closed doors, the truth is even darker. The AU has already given the green light to France and America. Some AU countries are secretly sharing military information with the West, showing them how to enter the Sahel quietly. France is desperate. Their economy is falling apart. Their government keeps collapsing. Their people are angry. They have lost their colonies, their gold, and their influence. Now they want to return, through the Sahel. And instead of protecting Africa, the AU is clearing the path for them. France and America can't invade openly, so they plan to use Africa against itself. African soldiers fighting African brothers. That's the real strategy. But the Sahel leaders already know this. That is why they formed the Sahel Alliance. That is why they left the ICC. That is why they are partnering with Russia and China. They understand that the AU is gone. Let's be real. The AU doesn't stand for Africa anymore. Russia gives security and weapons. China gives infrastructure and training. The AU gives excuses. France and the West are panicking because the Sahel's independence exposes the truth, that most African leaders are puppets, not patriots. If the Sahel succeeds, it will inspire the whole continent. That's what the West fears the most. And the AU knows this too. That's why they keep quiet. They've already chosen their side, and sadly, it's not Africa's. But the Sahel is not afraid. They are calm, patient, and ready. Russia and China are behind them, not as masters, but as partners. Russia gives them protection. China helps them rebuild. Together, they give the Sahel what the AU never could: respect and independence. When France refused to sell weapons to Burkina Faso, Russia stepped in. They didn't give lectures or conditions. They gave support. When the AU begged for Western loans, China helped build roads, hospitals, schools, and factories. They even trained young Burkinabe engineers to stand on their own feet. Now, ask yourself, who truly stands for Africa? The AU that depends on Western donations, or the Sahel leaders building Africa with their own hands? Today, a silent war is already happening. Not a war of bullets, but of loyalty. It's a war between African nations that want freedom and those that serve Western powers. The AU has chosen its master. The Sahel has chosen freedom. That is why the AU suspended them. But instead of breaking them, it made them stronger. Now, the Sahel stands as a symbol of African courage. The people chant in the streets, "We will never be slaves again." Even if the AU abandons them, millions of Africans stand with them. The West is surrounding the Sahel. France builds bases in Senegal and Ivory Coast. America places troops in Benin and Chad. They say it's for peace, but it's for control. But this time, Africa is not sleeping. The Sahel sees everything. They are ready. Russia has military advisors on the ground. China is building industries. The West thinks they can control the future, but the future has already changed. The AU may wave Africa's flag, but the Sahel carries Africa's soul. This is not just about three nations. This is about Africa's destiny. When history remembers this time, it won't remember the African Union's silence. It will remember the courage of those who stood up when everyone else bowed down. The AU has betrayed its children, but the Sahel will not forget, and neither will Africa. This is Ibrahim Traoré's era.